Welcome back, partiers, to the show. This is Party Pastime, the show where my good buddy Patrick and I give all our thoughts and reviews on all the entertainment stuff that really we like to talk about of the week. I'm your host, Thomas, of course, and I'm here with my good buddy, Patrick.
Hi, I'm feeling significantly less energetic than Thomas right now, but my spirits are high regardless.
Pat, we have quite the show today. What originally was going to be just on one piece of news ended up being this whole thing on Disney that we're going to talk about later. We have like 3 different things with Disney. Of course, we all know about the lawsuit that happened with the allergy-death and the Disney Plus subscription. There's talks of Bob Iger stepping down again, and if you've been following the Acolyte, like I think I haven't, but I'm sure Pat has, you know exactly what happened with Acolyte.
Yeah.
We have some news on what was going to be the main topic this week on Paramount Studios, and we're also going to talk about the announcements from Gamescom 2024. Then we're going to end our show later with our thoughts on the Kraven the Hunter trailer and Patrick's review on Alien Romulus. Patrick, I couldn't unfortunately see Alien Romulus. I had quite a busy weekend this past weekend.
Not too late to go see it.
But I can't get my review right now though.
Oh, I know.
At least for this show. But yeah, the reason being, Randy and I went to go to the Tampa Comic Convention that happened this past weekend, and it was a ton of fun. We got to meet the guys from Epic Rap Battles. They're on tour right now, and one of their stops was at the Tampa Bay Comic Con, out of all places. And it was quite a delight to see them live. I've been following them for, God, I think since they started.
I mean, yeah, I was watching Epic Rap Battles of History way back in 2011.
The fact that
literally right before I started high school, like the summer before high school started, I was watching them post the new ones at the time.
Yeah. The fact that they're still producing content to this day honestly surprises me. And honestly, it's amazing.
Albeit at a much slower pace.
Well, yeah, of course. Some that I got to... Rennie actually got to tell them that she's been following them since like the Maker Studios days. And I got to tell them, hey, what happened with Maker and then what you guys ended up doing to go independent, which is, the reason why they haven't, content has slowed down, honestly, is surprising. And the fact that I got to tell them that. And what's funny, Lloyd, he was like, yeah, Maker, that was a wild time. And you can just see the trauma in their face.
Yeah.
I have a funny story about the Tampa Comic Convention, Pat. There was this guy that was on Sunday. There was this guy named Ralph Macchio that's going to be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like going to be there earlier in the day. So the night before, Rennie and I, we went to the Comic-Con after party that they had at a bar arcade called Lowry Parkade. I'm sure you're familiar with Lowry Parkade.
Yeah.
So we do the after party. We were like, okay, we got to see Ralph Macchio the next day. We get up exhausted, getting ready. It ends up not being the Karate Kid Ralph Macchio. No, it ends up being Ralph Macchio, one of the head writers from Marvel Comics.
Oh. Interesting.
Let me see if I can find the because it was him and some other guy from DC. It was Dan something. Let me see if I can find the name. Dan Didio and Ralph Macchio. Dan Didio is one of the head writers from DC. If anyone's familiar with like the New 52 or the Batman Hush storyline, he's one of the guys that was in charge of that stuff. What's funny with Dan Didio, he talked about how the New 52, how it ended its run, he wished that he did something better with it, because even he was disappointed with it. Pat, you might be more familiar with the New 52 than I am. Do you think you would agree with Dan?
Sure. I guess in a general sense. I mean, I wasn't like super. I wasn't like super invested in New 52.
Right. So do you know what he's at least talking about? Because I've never read any of the run from New 52, but I guess apparently it just had, like, it started off strong, then it just went downhill near the end of its run or something like that.
That sounds about right.
Okay.
Something like, I don't know, like the whole ins and outs of it, because I had dropped off New 52 after a while.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, as with, I feel like this is a tale as old as time with comic books in general. Like, you start a new run, it's great, and then like they just find some way to fuck shit up, and it just like starts falling apart at the end, and they're like,
right.
So what if we just like ended this and started another one? And then New 52 ended, and then they did DC Rebirth, which I don't know how DC Rebirth is doing these days, or if DC Rebirth is even around anymore.
Right.
But
yeah, he didn't really talk much about the Rebirth. But when he was talking about New 52, you can tell he was highly disappointed with how things ended.
Yeah,
I brought up. Oh, sorry. Yeah, keep going.
I will say New 52 Batman in general, I think is like solid, like all throughout. And it's interesting too, because New 52 Batman starts off with the Court of Owls, which is like a fan favorite, iconic, well loved Batman story now. And so like they came out of the fences swinging, and then eventually they redid Death of the Family with a new interpretation of the Joker and all that stuff.
Ooh, okay.
If you've ever seen the Joker that literally wears his own dead skin mask, that's from New 52.
Ooh, I have seen artwork of that, so that's
cool. So
yeah.
I mean, it's really cool. So New 52 Batman at the very least was sick, but I never really got invested in any other New 52 stuff.
I brought up Ralph Macchio. I didn't really say. I said like he was the one of the head writers of Marvel Comics. He's the one that was in charge of the Ultimate Spider-Man run during its run.
Yeah.
Some that I really liked what he said. He said when they were pitching the idea of Ultimate Spider-Man, they really wanted to bring back the idea of Peter Parker and what he stood for. Because I guess at that time they were doing some weird stuff of like Spider-Man. There's actually different Spider-Man. They're all chosen for a reason, when really the core idea was for Peter Parker, this nerdy kid, to get bitten by a radioactive spider just on accident. So when the Ultimate Comics came around, that's when he just kind of brought back the character of Peter Parker to the original idea of when they first did Peter Parker, if that makes sense.
Right.
I've read a little bit of, if there's one thing I did read, it was definitely a little bit of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. If I'm going to be honest, I do love what how they treated Peter Parker's death, until they revived him again. But man, if there was one thing I honestly would love to do, it's just how like I think how Dan Didio feels about New 52. I think I would have stopped it right at Peter Parker's death.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of the original Ultimate Spider run with Brian Michael Bendis doing it and all that. I think that's a really solid iteration of Spider-Man, and obviously it ends with Peter's death, and then Miles Morales takes over. And and then the Peter that died gets brought back in Secret Wars, but then they recollided the universes again.
Yeah.
And now there's a new Ultimate Spider-Man run that's happening. And I gotta tell you, man, I don't want to jinx this. It's so fucking good.
Ooh, okay.
We're 8 issues deep at the moment, and it's so good. It's so good.
I may have to get back into the comics.
I don't bother reading Amazing Spider-Man right now. It sucks. But this new Ultimate run with the whole idea being that they're like rebirthing the Ultimate Universe because like I think the Watcher or something is remaking it in his image.
Right.
Dude, it's so good. Peter is actually happily married to Mary Jane Watson with kids, and they care about each other. And the villains, there's really like interesting interpretations of the villains. And right now we're slowly witnessing Harry Osborn's like descent into villainy to eventually being the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
And it's so good. And like this version of Venom is kind of like a how can I best explain it? It hasn't like started yet, but it's very like it hasn't become a thing yet, but the seeds are there that this version of Venom is going to be like a sentient version of the suit inside of Peter's AI, like AI inside of Peter's suit. As opposed to like an alien symbiote. It's really cool and smart, and I'm very interested to see how it plays out, because just based on the conversations that Peter has already had with the aforementioned AI, it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting dynamic and a unique take on Venom that they've never done before. So I'm very, very into this Ultimate Spider-Man run.
Nice.
And I hope it stays this consistent, because it's.
And he said it's only 8 issues in, so someone like me that wants to get into it, it's still pretty early in the series.
Yeah, you can start right now.
Nice.
It's all available. It's all available on their app or their comic service or whatever. It's like a couple bucks a month, and you can read all the issues they have posted.
I might just do that, Pat.
It's so good.
Some other stuff that Rennie and I got to do. We did some competitive Cards Against Humanity, which was awesome to do, because normally Cards Against Humanity is a game that you would want to do with like friends. So to do it with complete strangers, you know, like you understand your friend's humor, so you know like whose card is most likely going to be. So playing with strangers at Comic-Con was definitely a joy. We got to see Robert Patrick, who was the T-1000 in
T-1000
James
and
Cameron's T2. Yeah,
man, good actor.
Oh, great actor. Yeah. Did you know that he owns a Harley Davidson motorcycle store?
No, but now I do, and that's pretty cool.
He does, yeah. He's the owner of one of the stores, which is really cool.
Neat.
We got to attend a Lord of the Rings panel with Elijah Wood and Andy Serkis, and I actually had the chance to ask Elijah Wood a question.
I saw it on your Instagram.
And it was probably the most. I could have asked both of them, or just individually, any other question, like at all. I decided to ask Elijah Wood if his part in Deep Impact with the ring scene in that movie was how he got the part in Frodo in Lord of the Rings.
And what did he say?
He said, yes, it was.
Good man. Good man.
Next question.
Hello guys, my name is Tommy. This is for you, Elijah. This is probably a random question. In the movie Deep Impact, there is a scene where you're proposing to your girlfriend. and you're holding rings. Was that the movie that gave you the part Lord of the Rings?
It was. It's coming.
Good man.
We got to attend a Walking Dead panel, which had a couple of guys from the later seasons, but also Chandler Riggs, who we all know as Carl. Carl. Oh, believe me, when they walked out, the first thing they actually said was, "Listen, we all know what you're here for. You're here for the memes." They all turned to Chandler, and Chandler said, "Carl."
Nice. Love to hear it.
And we ended our Comic-Con with a Star Trek panel with John Delancey, who plays Q in The Next Generation.
Oh, cool.
Randy got to ask him a question. If there was one universe that Q could invade, what universe would it be? And John Delancey's answer was simply the Republican universe.
Hi, I'm Rennie, and this is for John. If Q were to invade any other cinematic universe, what would it be?
The Republican universe.
Oh! Good answer! Careful, where's Florida? Careful.
Actually, that's the best answer I can give you at this moment.
All right, thank you.
Pretty good.
So yeah, Comic-Con was so much fun. Randy and I did so much, from epic rap battles concert to meeting the guys to all these panels that we got to do. Even played some Cards Against Humanity with some strangers. My goal, I want to keep this tradition going of doing one con a year. Last year, I got to go to the Retro Gaming Expo to watch the Tetris tournament. This year, I got to go to Comic-Con. I hope next year, whatever con I decide to do next, I just hope to keep that tradition going. Do at least one con a year, because I'm honestly having a blast with all these conventions. I've never really been a convention person,
Right.
but I have so much fun.
Yeah, I haven't been to one in a little bit,
Yeah.
so...
You know what's funny, Pat? Before last year's Retro Gaming Expo I went to, the last convention I went to was Star Wars Celebration in Orlando, the same weekend when they announced The Force Awakens.
Yeah, I remember really wanting to go,
Mm-hmm.
and I just couldn't make the time for it or money or something.
Yeah, I think I invited you because a friend of mine and I that actually did this Party Pastime show before I did the whole YouTube thing with it. Him and I went. I think I invited you to go that year, but I don't remember. But I remember something came up though.
Yeah, something.
Mm-hmm. All right, Pat. Well, enough about me. You sent me something pretty interesting this week. You got some new shoes.
Yeah. What else is new? I stay buying too many pairs of sneakers.
Tell us about these new pairs of sneakers you bought, Pat.
Yeah, so new pair of Nike SBs, the S Cargo colorway, inspired by snails. So they're really cool. I think they're pretty sick. I don't have another pair of shoes quite like them. So they're trying to best describe it, I guess. So it's the whole upper is all suede. The sort of lime green portions are a bit of a softer suede, and then the whole the lining of the toe box and the rest of the upper, around the laces and all that, that's a tan sort of textured heavier grade suede. Cool brown laces with metal aglets, which is a nice touch. Not enough laces come with metal aglets. Also comes with 2 alternate pairs of laces. I'm trying to decide if I want to lace swap or not. I think swapping the laces would make them more wearable, but I think the laces that they come with, already laced in, make them more of a statement. I don't know. But they're really cool. They have the inserts, like the insoles inside, have dinner plates and a fork and knife on them. It says Nike SB on the inside on the dinner plate, so it's cool. The back Nike heel tab that's on every pair of Dunk Lows is like embossed this time. It's silver, but it has like fancy like dinner plate embroidery around it. It's really interesting. They weren't like a limited collab or anything. They were just like a general release. But as far as like general release Nike SBs go, these are really cool, really unique, and super standout. So, if you're ever looking for a cool place to buy sneakers or just like a cool skate shop trip, I got them off of Olympia Skate Shop's website. They're super cool people. They're located in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And they got me my pair really quick. They put them up on their website like, I don't know, maybe I think 9 that morning or thereabouts. They put them up on their website. They sold out pretty fast. I think I placed my order at like 9:05, and within 3 hours they had already like gotten the package to USPS. So I got it like 2 days later after I ordered it, which is an insane turnaround. I never get shoes that fast after I order them. But yeah, super cool. Super stoked on them. I'm excited to break them in. I went a half size up this time because Nike SB Dunks are they're really padded on the inside. Like there's padding because they're meant for skateboarding. Obviously, that's what SB stands for.
Right.
So like you got like a memory foam insert on the insole. The ankle collar has memory foam on the back. There's a thick padded tongue, and then there's also like straps on the inside that keep the tongue from moving around while you're walking, skating, whatever. So they can be pretty tight. So most people recommend going a half size up. I usually don't do that because I'm afraid that they might be a little too long. Like I'm in that weird zone where I have wide feet but not like particularly long feet. So I was like concerned that going half a size up would be a problem, but it's actually fine. Going half a size up just kind of makes them a little bit wider and makes it so that breaking them in isn't as uncomfortable, because sometimes breaking in Nike SBs can be really awful if you don't half size up. So
gotcha.
Yeah, they're cool. I'm stoked on them.
Pat, out of all the shoes that you have, what would you say is your most prized possession that you have?
So I have like a favorite pair of shoes.
Okay.
Like my favorite pair of shoes is my my NASA collab Vans, my NASA Skate High MTEs.
I remember you got that. I remember you sent me that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got those a few years ago. I've worn them everywhere. Like I've worn them hiking. I've worn them just walking around. I've worn them a ton. So like I guess that's like my favorite pair of shoes because I've definitely worn them the most. But I guess like my most prized pair of shoes, I don't know. I have I have another pair of Vans. I have the Fear of God Mountain editions that came out in like 2017, as they were part of a collaborative collection that they did with another fashion brand called Fear of God. They did it on their Vault line. And I have like 5 or 6 pairs of shoes that I would call like holy grail shoes. And it's like, I told myself that if I ever managed to get like at least half of them, I would be able to like call it a day and just like, this is done. This is like the capstone of my collection. And that's one of the pairs on there, is the Fear of God Mountain edition. So that's probably the pair that I value the most, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I wear them, you know, shoes are meant to be worn, right? Like,
of course, yeah.
I don't keep my shit in glass cases or anything like that. Like I don't, you know, I don't display these. I don't put the like I you know, they're I mean, I do consider them artwork in a sense.
Right.
But I don't, you know, like wear your shoes. They're meant to go on your feet, you know? Yeah.
Pat, let's go in and get to this week's show. We have quite the news with Disney alone this week. From a lawsuit that happened to rumors of Bob Iger stepping down to stuff that happened with the Acolyte. Let's go ahead and just dive into this whole lawsuit thing first. So what exactly happened?
So as I understand it, it was a doctor. So I don't remember. Was it his wife or himself?
So so this guy and his wife went to a Disney park, and
well, it wasn't a Disney park. They went to Disney Springs, and they went to a restaurant, and they were assured that the food was allergen free.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You are right. They did go to a Disney park. I want to apologize to that because the restaurant was a non-Disney brand restaurant.
Right. So they were at Disney Springs, and they were assured that their food was allergen free because they asked. And it was not. They ate there, and there was in fact an allergen in the food. And was it? I don't remember if it was him or his wife.
It was his wife, unfortunately.
Yeah, his wife. Yeah, his wife died.
Yeah.
She had a fatal allergic reaction to the meal that they had. So obviously, the family of the deceased filed a lawsuit with Disney, and Disney was attempting. They have since backed down from this because it was atrocious PR.
Yep.
But they were originally going to fight this in court under the idea that when you accept the terms and conditions of your Disney Plus free trial, they didn't even have a full subscription. They accepted the terms and conditions of the Disney Plus free trial. I guess somewhere in the fine print of those terms and conditions, it straight up just says like, you can't sue us. Which is insane.
So this is from the BB&C. Jeffrey Piccolo filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Disney and the owners of a restaurant after his wife died in 2023 so this actually happened last year from a severe allergic reaction after eating at the theme park. However, Disney argues its terms of use, which Mr. Piccolo agreed when creating his Disney account in 2019, which means they have to settle out of court.
Yeah. But yeah, Disney has since rescinded this because people were like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what happened was
it's the most insane thing.
Continuing from the BBC article, Mr. Piccolo wants the case to go in front of a jury in a court. Disney's motion to take the case out of court and decided by arbitration will be heard in front of a Florida judge in October. And for those that don't know what it means, arbitration means the dispute is overseen by a neutral third party who is not a judge.
Yeah.
Continuing the article, it is usually quicker and cheaper process than a court. And this is what a partner from the law firm Charles Russell Speechlys, his name is Jamie Cartwright, has to say about it. Disney understandably may want to benefit from the privacy and confidentiality that arbitration brings, rather than having a wrongful death suit heard in the public with the associated public. Now, what you said, Pat, is true. They have backed down on this. This is from the Associated Press. Disney drops bid to have allergy-death lawsuit tossed because the plaintiffs signed up for Disney Plus. So what's happening now is that they will go in front of a court. I think right now Mr. Piccolo is still asking for $50,000 from the lawsuit.
$50,000 is not much considering his wife died.
Ooh, here's something from the Associated Press. In a response filed earlier this month, Disney has argued that it was absurd to believe that the more than 150 million subscribers of Disney Plus have waived all rights to sue the company and its affiliates. Oh my God, this is Pat. We talked about D23 last week.
Yeah.
And I just find it ironic that so much has happened after.
Yeah.
This is from Brian Denny, who is the guy's a lawyer. The right to a jury, has a set forth in the 7th Amendment, is a bedrock of our judicial system and should be protected and preserved. Attempts by corporations like Disney to avoid jury trials should be looked at with skepticism. And I honestly have to wholeheartedly agree with that. Just like, imagine if, man, imagine if this happened with like Universal Studios, and this same guy can't sue because he had a free trial of, I think Universal owns Peacock.
Yeah.
This is wild news, Pat. It's honestly hard to support Disney after this. At least that's my view. Like, what's your whole thoughts on this?
No, this is pretty gross, man. But it's awful, of course. It also is. It's like it doesn't surprise me in a way, because corporations will do anything to get out of paying money, even if it makes them look terrible. And you have to wonder who thought that this would possibly be good PR to just publicly announce well, they had a Disney Plus free trial, they can't sue us. Yeah, it's nasty work. Vile work.
It's vile, and I want to say it's what Disney has said so far is cliched as hell.
Well, it's just generic corporate PR speak.
It is. So this is what Josh D'Amaro said, who is the chairperson of Disney's theme parks division. At Disney, we strive to put humanity above all other considerations. With such unique circumstances as the one in this case, we believe the situation warrants a sensitive approach to expedite a resolution for the family who have experienced such a painful loss. It's like, okay, well, why say that, but go through all this shit just because of a free trial of your silly streaming service?
Yeah, they're not sending their best, man. They're not sending their best. I sincerely hope they make this right, because
I honestly don't know how they can, Pat, because this I can't think of anything more vile that a big company has done in the last couple years. That's probably worse than this.
Well, I mean, if you want to get technical, the Nestle Corporation does insane shit all the time, but that's a whole other...
Yeah, that's
a whole other can of worms.
No, you make a good point, Pat.
I'm not going to get into...
You make a good point, yeah.
I'm not going to get into the Nestle Corporation and how evil they are, but there's a really good Behind the Bastards episode on it, though, if you like that podcast. Anyway. Yeah.
So it looks like Disney has agreed to settle in court. I'm really gonna follow this pretty close because I really want the guy to get some justice for his wife. It looks like they're gonna settle they have a court date settled for October, not an exact date from what I saw, but sometime by the end of October, we should be getting, hopefully, semi-good news.
Yeah. I want this to be resolved in the best way possible, in the favor, obviously, of the family, because it's pretty insane. Yeah, obviously my heart goes out to him, because I can't even imagine what it's been like for him. So
Pat, let's travel back in time just 1 year after lockdown. What exactly happened with Disney? Bob Iger steps down, a new guy comes in, Bob Chapek, and
also conveniently named Bob.
And I think it's safe to say that a Bob paycheck ran Disney down to the ground.
Yeah, I would say so.
Iger returned back in 2022 after Chapek was fired. Now it seems that I almost said Bob Chapek again. Bob Iger is looking to step down again, and he is, what his quote is, obsessed with the thought of finding a new CEO. This is what it says on KTL 5 website. The CEO of Walt Disney recently joined actress and TV host Kelly Ripa on an episode of her podcast, Let's Talk Off Camera with Kelly Ripa. In the episode, he discussed the ongoing search for Disney's next CEO, a potential presidential bid, and some of his regrets. During the nearly long episode, this is what he said, that Disney's next CEO is constantly on his mind. I would think it would be safe to assume that I think about CEO succession all the time. I could say that I'm obsessed, that it would probably be an understatement. And actually, the board and I established when I returned that it would be among our biggest priorities, if not the biggest priority.
Sounds like he really wants to find a new CEO.
I think he's just about done with Disney. And honestly, I don't quite blame him. After what happened with the whole thing with Mr. Bob Paycheck, and if you all know the joke of why he's nicknamed Bob Paycheck, congratulations. When Iger came back, it was not a fun ride for him. But I have to also say that when he came back, he hasn't really done a great job either. Patrick, when the whole writer's strike was happening, Bob Iger said that the writers need to ask for something more realistic, and that really brought a bad taste in everyone's mouth about Mr. Iger.
Yeah. And
ever since then, it just hasn't been the same. And quite honestly, we need like a fresh new face, and not just with Disney, but I think a lot of these big companies. And also, I can say the same thing about politics too. We need fresh new faces, just in general.
I mean, yeah, we do. That's about right. Yeah, we just need younger, more progressive, less greedy people running companies and making decisions. Would be nice. It would be nice. Anyway, it doesn't surprise me that he wants to find a new CEO immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. Whoever he picks, whenever he retires or whatever, I hope they're up to the task and maybe they do a better job of handling the company. And because I don't know, recent years Disney's kind of felt out of whack.
Yeah, it really has. So this is what actually Iger has discussed on the podcast with Kelly Ripa about his regrets. I wasn't wrong about my observation. This is talking about the linear TV assets, but it wasn't necessarily for me to utter those words publicly because it caused an incredible amount of anxiety. I should have been more sensitive about how those words would not just be interpreted, but how they would be felt by people who are really important to me, even who are even Disney legends. He also talked about the some major cost cuts. I was intent to communicating to Wall Street and open-mindedness in general about our business in the future, and I want to know, this is after I came back to Disney, that my head was not in the sand. He recalled that his decision to say everything was on the table was a mistake. And what I said about the TV assets, this was about Disney selling TV assets, which I do know one of them was about selling Hulu, because Disney has some assets to Hulu. I think Disney, Universal, and at the time, Fox, ironically. And Iger was really looking to just get Hulu like out of Disney's hands.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know, man. This company's messy.
I have to wholeheartedly agree, Pat, because I think this transitions into some other news that happened with Disney. The Acolyte's not getting renewed for a second season.
Yeah.
So, Pat, you said you saw Acolyte. I have yet to watch it.
I did watch this, yes.
So from what you watched, what's going on that's making the Acolyte, this whole Acolyte cancellation, big news?
So I think overall, the show is like pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it starts off pretty rough. The first 2 to 3 episodes are not that great. But then it gets better as it goes on. I'm still not gonna say I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I do think it has some very cool scenes and excellent choreography.
Okay.
Look, at the end of the day, and you can see the streaming figures for yourself and from Disney's own admission, the Acolyte was not that watched, especially as far as like Star Wars stories go. Like the Acolyte just was not getting a lot of viewership, comparatively speaking, and it was really expensive to make. The budget for this show was like $300 million for 8 episodes, 6 to 8 episodes. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. I'm tired. So it was really expensive to make, and it wasn't like well watched. Now, you could argue that I don't know if it was just like general lack of interest, or if, Star Wars fans, air quotes, bitching and moaning about DEI and why is, black women in my Star Wars, and the writing is dumb because this, and the writing is dumb because that, and this shit's on the canon of the series, and blah, blah, blah. Maybe those are all reasons that it didn't get watched, or maybe that's an extremely loud minority, and at the end of the day, maybe the broader public just didn't care that much about the Acolyte. But at the end of the day, the Acolyte was insanely expensive, and it was not watched enough to justify that kind of cost for another season.
Right.
We're seeing this a lot with TV now, where TV shows are making less and less episodes for more and more money, and it's wild. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. House of the Dragon season 3. So season 2 just wrapped up. It was a 2-year gap between season 1 and season 2. And it was, 6 episodes apiece. Next season isn't going to be due out until like 2026. So we are talking like blockbuster movie type production schedules for TV shows that are like 6, 7, 8 episodes now, with like ballooning production budgets and timelines. So like I feel like part of the reason we're seeing so many things canceled on streaming services is because like it's just not sustainable anymore. Like the kinds of budgets and production timelines that they're asking of TV shows essentially are just not sustainable anymore. The first 6 seasons of Game of Thrones all came out 1 year apart, and they all released at literally the same time of year every year, and they were all 10 episodes long.
Mm-hmm.
One new season, 10 episodes every single year. And now we have shows that drop one season of like 8 episodes, and then you have to wait 2, 3, sometimes even 4 years for the next season.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels bad. And you ask yourself more and more these days if you can justify even keeping your subscriptions to some of these streaming services. Like, when the hell is Stranger Things 5 coming out? You know what I mean? Like, everybody has like it feels like so many series now are killing their own momentum by waiting like years between seasons. Invincible season 2 is a good example. Invincible season 2 took 2 or 3 years to come out, and they still had a 6-month gap in between batches of episodes. So it's just like, this is like a whole tangent that I didn't really mean to get on. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Acolyte was really expensive and not a lot of people watched it. The weird thing for me is that Disney is just taking all of the merch offline and like out of stores. Like they're literally like purging this show, which is, I guess this leads to like a broader question of like, will they pull a Warner Brothers and literally just delete Acolyte from the streaming service entirely for a tax write-off? Or will they leave it up and just say,
It's funny you mentioned that, Pat. This is from Paul Tassi, a writer from Forbes.
I like Paul Tassi.
He actually talked about details of some new details that emerged on like why Acolyte was canceled. Everything that you said was true. It was canceled due to low viewership. Viewership dove after the first episode. It was very expensive to do. This is what he said. There are no plans to remove the show from Disney Plus because what the guy is saying, that fans were freaking out that the show might get willowed.
Yeah.
This is exactly what Disney Plus did with Willow. But so far, there are no plans to do that. But he does say, trust that as much as you will. So it may not be taken off of Disney Plus for a tax write-off.
Yeah.
But honestly, anything can happen. The merch one, though, is very sketch.
Yeah.
Just right after. And I want to say this was spotted by Funko Pop News. They actually released the news that Acolyte merch was being removed from all the online stores.
To be honest, they might be doing it so they don't have to pay royalties.
Probably.
On like merch sales.
Yeah.
Sucks. Remember when streaming services were supposed to be better than cable?
Don't remind me, Pat.
I'm so exhausted by streaming services now.
I think it's just safe to say Disney is in a rough boat right now.
Yeah.
If I recall, this is probably their first Star Wars show that is not getting a new season.
Besides, like, the obvious one and dones, like Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but from what I understand, Acolyte did leave on a cliffhanger, and there were plans for a multi-season, but
yeah,
clearly
there was. It definitely does end on a cliffhanger. Oh well.
Is Acolyte as bad as what a lot of other people are saying, Pat?
No.
Okay.
I think a lot of the hate that you see online for the Acolyte is from disillusioned, disenfranchised Star Wars fans who, the kind of people who hate The Last Jedi, but for the wrong reasons.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So, I think it's worth, it's up to you whether you feel like it's still worth watching or not at this point, since it's literally just not going to be finished.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got some really cool scenes and some genuinely interesting ideas.
I've seen the Forest scene. That...
Yeah, the first fight scene in the forest, like when the Acolyte is known, like he reveals himself and has that fight in the forest is fucking awesome.
I haven't seen the show, but I have seen the Forest scene. That makes me want to watch it. But like I said last week in the D23 episode, I'm just trying to catch up on a lot right now, so just bear with me on that.
No, I don't blame you, man. Take all the time you need. It's literally never going to be finished at this point, so it's you can't be more behind than you are now.
Well, thank you for that, Pat. I think my argument just kind of comes back to what I said earlier. A lot of these big companies, and I think Disney's one of the bigger ones that needs it. They need fresh new faces to run this company. This whole they're trying to hop on the bandwagon of streaming, which was great at first, but it's getting watered down completely. And to also just have this all this stuff happen with like the lawsuit and everything, they're in some big legal trouble. And really, it's just because it's just run by a lot of old guys that are just showing their time. What's that saying? Set in their ways.
Yeah. And
it's not the professional thing to do to be in that exact chair. Does that make sense what I'm saying, Pat?
Yeah, no, I get it.
What you said, Pat. What streaming is just it's more than cable now, and it's nonsense.
It's crazy, bro. Like we live in a world where every streaming service, like the bottom tier of streaming services, has fucking ads now. Like, is that not like, it's crazy that we just accept that now. Like the bottom tier of every single streaming service has ads now, and they're intrusive and annoying. And it's on purpose because they know you'll pay the extra money for the upper tier that doesn't have ads. And it sucks. Yeah. It actually sucks. And then they want to crack down on password sharing as if they're not like overcharging for every single fucking thing. Like, okay. Crazy, bro. Couldn't be me.
Mm-mm.
It used to be like feasible to have like the two streaming services that existed. It used to just be Hulu and Netflix.
Yep.
And now it's Hulu and Netflix and HBO and Paramount and fucking Tubi and all this other stuff. It's like, stop. It's so annoying. Streaming services make me so mad now.
Whatever happens with Bob Iger, we'll definitely keep an eye out on that and definitely discuss that, whoever he decides to choose as the next CEO. Pat, let's take a break from all this Disney talk because we got to talk about another big-time studio. This is our lightning round, everybody. We're going to quickly talk about some other news that has happened but we're gonna do it pretty quickly for the sake of timing. Patrick, what was originally going to be our main topic this week, before the whole Disney stuff happened, Paramount TV Studios has shut down. This is from The Hollywood Reporter. Paramount announced last week that it would lay off 15% of its U.S. employees on top of about 800 layoffs 6 months ago as part of an effort to save $500 million in costs ahead of a planned merger with Skydance. At the time, this was planned, but now the merger has been made. And this merger takes place in 3 phases over the years. This is what their plan is. In June, we laid our strategic plan to return Paramount to profitable growth, which includes streamlining the organization and cutting costs by $500 million on an annual basis. As we continue to advance our plan, we announced on our earnings call last week that we will be reducing our US-based workforce by approximately 15%, focusing on redundant functions and streamlining corporate teams. This process will take place within 3 phases starting today and continuing at the end of the year. We expect 90% of these actions to be complete by the end of September. We know that we have a part in the teammates whose contributions have been instrumental in our success is incredibly hard. In partnership with our HR leads, we are committed to providing support to employees transitioning on from Paramount and our teams who will need to adapt to these changes. During this time, we ask that everyone please be mindful of how this news may affect your colleagues and offer support to those who need it. The industry continues to evolve, and Paramount is an inflection point where changes must be made to strengthen our business. And while these actions are often difficult, we are confident in our direction forward. We understand that you may have questions about the next steps, and while we may not be able to provide all the answers at this time, we will continue to update you on the progress. So really, this is exactly what has happened with other big mergers before. For those that don't know, Paramount did have a big merger with Skydance, and just like what happened with Disney and Fox, layoffs happened, studios shut down. It's not necessarily new news, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it still sucks for everyone getting laid off.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole lot of corporate PR speak. Rest in peace to a titan of the television industry. The entertainment and tech industries are just going crazy right now with, like layoffs and expanding budgets and all this other stuff. It's wild. It's really sad to see so many people losing so many jobs. It just sucks, man. It's weird. It's hard to feel enthused about the entertainment industry at the moment.
When Disney merged with Fox, Fox's animation had to be shut down. For those that don't know, they gave us classics such as the Ice Age movies, and I remember when that that became big news, and honestly, it's really weird to think that Disney owns all the rights to Ice Age now.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with what you said. The whole entertainment industry is in this weird path right now. But like I said, it's nothing new though. This always happens with a big merger.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing new. It's just I feel like it happens more and more nowadays.
No, I totally agree.
These past couple years especially are just woof.
Just layoffs. layoffs and shutdowns. Didn't Destiny, Bungie have some layoffs recently too?
2 rounds actually.
2 rounds.
They had 1 round of layoffs not too long after Lightfall came out, and then they had another round of layoffs like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, just
bad, dude.
Yeah.
The gaming industry in general has had thousands of layoffs starting from like last year. It's bad, dude. It's so bad. I mean, and it's in tech too. I mean, Dell announced that they were laying off 15,000 employees recently. So I mean, it's everywhere.
My God.
Sucks, bro.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Pat, let's move on to some enjoyable news. Gamescom 2024 happened. They had a ton of announcements. Pat, what are some stuff that you're looking forward to from all these announcements that happened at Gamescom?
I am very excited for Revenge of the Savage Planet. It's a sequel to Journey to the Savage Planet. That's a really, really, really fun spacefaring co-op first-person shooter. So I'm excited that that's getting a sequel. I am excited that Marvel Rivals has a release date now. For people who aren't in the know, Marvel Rivals is kind of like Marvel's rival to Overwatch. And I played the open beta that was live a couple weeks ago, and I had a lot of fun with it. Actually, it's much better in execution than I thought it would be in concept. So it's coming out December 6th. They announced that all of the characters will be available free to play day one, like now and in the future. So that's really cool. Free to play games tend to lock characters behind like paid battle passes or something, or make them like a ridiculous grind to get, but these are just, it's a good way of handling this. Very, 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 very excited to have gotten gameplay and the release date for Civilization 7. Civ is one of my favorite game series. It's like crack to me. They make me feel like I have the biggest brain in the universe. And it comes out February 11th, which is cool. It's launching on PC and console like concurrently, so console and PC are getting the same release date this time. It looks great. I love the new like redone art style. They had the trailer announcing Gwendolyn Christie is narrating it this time. So Civilization is racking up Game of Thrones actors like Thanos grabbing the Infinity Stones because Sean Bean narrated Civ 6. So
ooh, okay,
really, really cool. We got a Borderlands 4 reveal trailer. I think everybody kind of knew this was coming at some point, but it's cool to have it confirmed. Borderlands is a series that I have sunk a lot of time into. Maybe the most interesting one to me is Amazon announced a adult animated anthology series called Secret Level, and it's a 15-episode series done by the same guys who did Love, Death, and Robots for Netflix.
Okay.
And every episode is a story that takes place and is inspired by a different game universe. So the trailer was, you could see stuff like Mega Man, The Outer Wilds, Sifu, Pac-Man, Warhammer 40k. I know I saw God of War and Ghost of Tsushima in there. Looks really cool. I love Death and Robots. I think that studio is the studio behind it is immensely talented, and I'm actually surprised somebody hasn't attempted to do something like this sooner. Like an animated anthology series based around video games is cool. So I think this is the end of the year. I think December is when it comes out. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching that.
Awesome.
What else? There were some other like little things here and there. I think Goat Simulator is getting a remaster. Goat Simulator is a very stupid game, but I say that lovingly. It's not at all what it sounds like. It's definitely not simulating being a real goat. Got a bunch of gameplay for Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter, also famously a series that I'm deeply in love with. Wilds looks amazing. We don't have a release date. It just comes, it's next year is all we have. But I really, really can't wait for this. Got to look at the new Diablo expansion coming out in October. Got some more in-depth gameplay on the new class. So that's cool. We got to see some gameplay for Obsidian's new game coming up for Xbox called Avowed. Obsidian, famously, the guys behind Fallout New Vegas and The Outer Worlds and many other beloved RPGs of the day. So, interested in that for sure. And I think that's pretty much everything that I really cared about. Saw a trailer for the new Dune game that's coming out. Dune Awakening, I think it's called. It's an open world survival game from the same devs who did the Conan Exiles game that's been really popular for the better part of like 10 years now. It seems interesting, but I don't know if I would actually like get into it. But I don't know, we'll see. I'll try anything once. But that's pretty much everything that really stood out to me. Pretty interesting. 2025 is looking pretty stacked for games. So
I'm definitely gonna have to.
I mean, dude, Monster Hunter Wilds, Borderlands 4, and Civilization 7.
Ooh.
My year is made, dude. Like,
I'm definitely gonna have to.
I don't need
get myself
anything else.
into gaming more often with all these announcements. Fat.
I'm chilling, dude. Like, we're fine. You can announce anything else you want. It's cool. So do we want to move on to Kraven the Hunter?
Oh my gosh, let's dive into our movie talk this week, starting with the trailer to Kraven the Hunter. Sony Pictures is still continuing their Spider-Verse cinematic universe. The next
whatever
one...
they're calling it these days. Are they connected? Are they are they connected to each other? Are they connected to the MCU? Who knows? Not Sony. Not Sony. Hey, here's a, you want to hear a joke?
Give it to me, Pat.
Sony announcing like 2 years ago that they were gonna do a movie based on El Muerto, with Bad Bunny starring.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, so that was definitely quietly canceled. To put into perspective how little Sony actually understands anything about what they're doing, El Muerto is a villain that appeared in 2 issues of Miles Morales' Ultimate Spider-Man comics run over 10 years ago. Like, from the time that they announced that they were making a movie, he had been in 2 issues over 10 years prior to that announcement. El Muerto's bio on like the Marvel website is blank. There is nothing about him. And Sony was like, yeah, let's do an El Muerto movie. They were like desperate to do anything. Anyway, Kraven the Hunter looks bad.
This is probably the most lackluster trailers I think I've ever watched.
This looks real bad, man. This is I felt literally nothing watching the trailer. Like, not even a hint of any emotion. I was completely apathetic the entire time. I guess Kraven is bitten by like a genetically modified lion or something, and now he has superpowers. And also the villain is the rhino, but like an actual rhino. Like, the villain can turn himself into a rhino at will. This movie looks terrible. It's just like, who even has faith in these Sony villain movies anymore? You know what I mean? Now, I'll concede that Venom 3 at least looks fun.
Yeah, the trailer to Venom 3 was actually well thought out and actually watchable.
At least it looks fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This doesn't look fun at all. This looks really bad, and stupid, and like, it looks like they made it R-rated and give it a bunch of splatter violence for the sake of being like, yeah, we could make R-rated comic book movies too.
Well, it's funny, Pat, when we were watching the trailer before we started recording, one thought I had that I wanted to say was the only redeeming thing they can do is make it R-rated. Then they show the rating, and I said, actually, never mind.
Yeah, it's just like, it looks dumb. It looks so dumb. And, you know, supposedly, I don't know if this is like actually true or not, but the word about town is supposedly that is like part of the conditions of like the agreement that they have between like the MCU and Sony, is that if Sony uses a villain first, Marvel is then not allowed to use them. So it feels like they're just going around trying to get like a Spider-Man Rogues Gallery before Marvel can. Just, I wish they would give up. I wish they would just give up. It would be so much better if they just gave up. But they won't.
At least we still got the Spider-Verse movies, Pat.
We do have the that's like I'm convinced that's a fucking fluke. Like Spider-Verse exists in a vacuum to me. Like that's not the same company. Like it's crazy that they also make Spider-Verse. You want to know an even funnier joke that I just remembered that still makes me laugh?
Please,
Sony not realizing that the Morbius memes were ironic and re-releasing it for a second run in theaters, and it made like $1,200. Oh, fuck, dude. If you go into the comment section of the Red Band trailer on YouTube, it's literally just people making Morbius jokes, but like
with Kraven.
But with Kraven, and people like actively shitting on how bad this movie looks. So yeah.
Do you think they're going to? Do you think Sony is gonna potentially give up on these supervillain movies?
I don't know, man.
I mean,
I'd like them to.
The Venom movies made a ton of money. They really want to milk it, but Morbius didn't make its money back, and they're still going.
Yeah, well, maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Oh my god!
Let's talk about an actually good movie.
Yeah, Pat. So you saw Alien Romulus. I have yet to see
3 times.
It. Oh, it was that good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good ass movie, dude. Let's talk about an actually good movie. Let's talk about Alien Romulus for a minute.
Go.
So yes, I have seen this movie 3 times.
Yeah, the floor is yours, Pat. Take the review from here.
So I want to start off by saying that this is definitely the best Alien movie since Aliens, and that's just like uncontestable to me.
Ooh.
So this is the story of Rain and her android companion Andy attempting to make a better life for themselves with their group of companions by getting off of the Weyland-Yutani mining colony that they've lived on since they were kids, because that's where their parents were sent to work. It's a depressing mining colony that has no sunlight, and people are regularly dying from new diseases and all that. So it's essentially this ragtag group of orphans. And they want to leave the colony to go to a planet that has an actual sun where they can live promising lives. The problem is that in order to make the journey, they need to be put into cryosleep. And the only way that, they don't have cryosleep readily available on the planet, but there are cryopods and enough fuel to make the journey on the decommissioned or abandoned Weyland-Yutani space colony that floats above their planet in the atmosphere. So they decide that they want to pull a heist and they take a ship up to the colony to steal its cryosleep equipment so that they can make the journey. And naturally, because this is an alien movie, and they went to a decommissioned Weyland-Yutani colony, there are aliens aboard. And that's kind of like your setup for the movie, right? So, Romulus is a movie that definitely plays the franchise's greatest hits. I'm not going to say that it does a lot to break away from the established formula of the first two movies. And in fact, there are many callbacks, references, and lines ripped directly from the first two Aliens movies. But it does have enough unique ideas of its own to warrant its place in this franchise. It is beautifully shot. The cinematography is gorgeous. This is a very pretty movie to look at, even given the circumstances. The cast, like the acting across the board for all of the characters, is excellent. They are believable, and they give convincing, genuinely interesting performances. And you grow over the course of the movie to really care about, you know, the core cast. It's dark and intense and just like this non-stop thrill ride. And it's like, I feel like it has a little something for every, like, people who are fans of every Alien movie. Like, there's a little bit of every Alien movie in this one, even Prometheus.
Okay.
So while yes, you could call it a bit derivative, who cares? This movie rocks. Like, I have seen this movie 3 times. I saw it in Dolby at AMC. I saw it at the Dolby Theater every time. And even knowing everything that happens, I was thoroughly engaged every single time that I watched this. It is so good. It's an awesome, like, white knuckle sci-fi horror thriller, and it's totally worth watching. Fede Alvarez knocked it out of the park, especially in terms of the practical effects. Most of the xenomorphs in this movie are practical. They are, you know, rigged puppets or people in suits or anything like that. So it just looks beautiful. It's beautiful to look at, and it's a nice change of pace from Alien Covenant, where every monster in that movie is ugly ass CGI. It's cool. Like, you know what, the thing that really stood out to me, right, is like, I watched Alien Covenant, and Alien Covenant feels bizarrely spiteful of the other Alien movies to me. It's an Alien movie that feels like it doesn't want to be an Alien movie, and it actively resents its heritage in a lot of ways.
Right. I don't remember much of Alien Covenant. But the only thing I do remember is that James Franco makes an appearance in the beginning of the movie, but his character is already dead.
He dies in the first 2 minutes of the movie without any dialogue. It's really funny. It's really funny. But this is an Alien movie
that's honestly great to hear.
This is an Alien movie that knows it's an Alien movie, and it's happy to be one. Like, this is an Alien movie for Alien fans, 100%. Now, the ending, as in the last 15 minutes, is a little controversial.
Okay.
It's divided the fan base a bit. I think it's really cool. I think it's great. It's nasty. Like really nasty. Probably the grossest scene in an Alien movie. But wow. what precedes what comes after that particular scene has definitely divided people. I don't understand how anybody could say the last 15 minutes of this movie ruins the whole thing for them. I think they're insane for that. Because this movie's just so good. I rarely see movies more than once in the theater. I can count on one hand the number of movies I have seen 3 times in theaters. It's this one, Across the Spider-Verse, and The Force Awakens. That's it. So like, I genuinely, I cannot recommend this movie enough. I can't give it like a perfect score because I do think it leans a little too heavily on the movies that came before it. But having said that, I would still give this like a solid 9. I mean, seriously,
Wow.
this is easily my 3rd favorite Alien movie. Like, this is so good. This is like a return to form, like a triumphant return. And I want more of this.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want Alien movies to be. This is all I need Alien movies to be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's so much fun. There's one scene in particular towards the back half of the movie, well, really towards like the last quarter of the movie. I don't want to spoil it, but it's so interesting, and it's the perfect example of this franchise still having the potential to have unique ideas injected into it if you just get someone who's creative enough behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Definitely see it in the theater if you can.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely will. Before it's a theatrical run, I've heard the reviews have been great. Just what you're saying, Pat. I want to go watch it like right now.
It's awesome, man. It's so good. The budget, what was it? Its budget was like $80 million, which for a blockbuster, like movie like this is cheap, and it's already made like $200 million. So it's rocketing past its budget. It was number 1 the weekend it opened. It finally dethroned Deadpool and Wolverine. So yeah, more of this, please.
Oh, Pat, well, you can get more because Marvel Comics is going to be releasing one-shot Alien Romulus prequel comics. Issue number 1 will drop into shops October 16th.
Oh, good to know. You know, I never really got into the Alien comics. So maybe I'll pick this one up. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I just more of this. If Fox, well, I guess Disney at this point, more of this.
I mean, think about it, Pat. Since the merger with Disney, we've gotten good Alien and Predator movies. Prey was a fantastic Predator movie.
It's
surprise too.
So good, bro. So good. Can you believe, like, because like Prey was direct to streaming, but like Romulus was supposed to be direct to streaming. This was supposed to just go straight to Hulu.
Yeah.
Dude. Dude, if this came straight to Hulu and like that's how I watched it for the first time, I would have been mad that it wasn't in the theater.
Oh no.
I'm so serious, dude. Like, I'm so happy they decided to release this in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
This deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible.
That's honestly awesome to hear, Pat.
And that's that on that, dude. This is one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. I mean, it's not like, you know, Dune Part 2 is the best movie I've seen this year.
Mm-hmm.
But this is definitely one of my favorites of the year for sure.
All right, Pat. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Party Pastime. We will definitely give updates on all the shit that's been going on with Disney. Really, I think the lawsuit is the big one that we will keep an eye out and give updates on. Pat, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at PattyWiseTheClown, and that's it.
You can find me at Tommy.Zombie on Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this week's episode of Party Pastime. The party's not over, though, because tune in next time, everybody. We're going to give our thoughts on the announcement that Chick-fil-A has made on their streaming service that will be releasing Lord knows when.
Yeah. Woo.
But Pat, don't worry. It won't be a downer of a party, because we will also talk about the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer as well.
Yay.
But until next time, party on, partiers.